I feel sometimes we live in a bit of a bubble. And I think the only way to move forward is to break out of the bubble. Sometimes, let's be honest, do we think that these people who have invested or made it in some ever way, or that person that you admire in whichever way, do you sometimes think they were lucky? Let's be honest. Do you sometimes think they were lucky? And I admit, even me, I look at people and I'm like, gosh, they were so lucky. They were born in the right era. You know, in the 70s, land in Westlands was 70K. They were so lucky. It was easier to do this X and Y and Z. Bread was a shilling. They were so lucky, and Waceke was talking about that. But because yesterday someone told it to me, I was like, you've got to be joking. Luck has nothing to do with it. And if you are waiting to get lucky, you're going to wait, my friend. It is not luck, it is grit, it's determination, it is falling, but saying, I will get up again. It is understanding yourself, understanding what do you have to contribute. And I think the problem that we are facing is many people have not shown up for their own lives. And maybe we have not shown up for our own lives. Maybe you're sitting here and saying, yes, I go to work, or I go to university, I do what I'm supposed to be doing every day, but today I'm going to ask you, have you really shown up for your life? And how you know you've shown up is, if today you are zapped into heaven, what will be left behind? Will you be zapped into heaven and feeling, yenyewe, I'm ready, I gave it all? Or will you be like, I thought I had more time? So we've got to start saying it's not luck. It's a decision, and it is a series of choices that you have to make. Becoming a fearless investor is a series of choices. It doesn't mean that the fear is not there. And I want to go through some of those choices. But before we do that, we've got to understand this life we are living. How many steps are we from making it disappear? How many steps? If something happened, what does it take for things to change? I faced it when I went into business. And I went into business thinking things will work automatically, and then suddenly there was no salary. Then you realize it was that salary that was keeping me alive. So my one step was realizing I no longer have a salary, now things don't work. I had a discussion with someone who did Centonomy about 8 months ago. Let me call her Susan. And Susan went through a separation. But Susan, and she told me before she used to live the champagne lifestyle. You know what a champagne lifestyle is? So apart from the fact that she literally liked champagne, and she would drink champagne every so often, everything was catered for her. The husband was working, she was not working. So money happened somehow. She would go out and swipe the family credit card, which happened to be in his name. She went to the supermarket and just swiped the debit card, and somehow it was paid. She went to the gas station again and removed money from the wallet. Somehow the money was paid. Somehow the school fees was paid. She had so many somehows until this situation happened in her relationship. And then suddenly the somehow became how. How was all this being done? How was rent being paid? How was school fees being paid? How was just eating being paid? And I want you to take a minute to ask yourself, how many moves, like Susan, does it take to get from a champagne lifestyle to the beggar that you are seeing there? How many? How many moves do you have? One. What are those moves? It takes a job to be retrenched. It takes a relationship to change. It takes a partner. You could both be working, but it takes just one of you to lose your income, and then the lifestyle goes. It takes a death. And if we're honest with ourselves, for those who are students, don't sit comfortably. It takes your parent to lose their job. Do you understand? For many of us, we are one move away. So we've got to start saying it is not luck. Yeah, it is starting to say, are you happy with one move? Do you want to live a one move life? Yeah, and beneath that, sometimes we know it is just one move. If something happens to somebody's income, it is gone. Yeah, so we've got to start saying, this situation, it takes things like a business to go down. Yeah, a business can go down, by the way. And I think as Biko was saying earlier, this year, a lot of businesses has been had. It takes interest rates to increase. Remember when the interest rates were taken to 25, 26%? Yeah? Now they're at 14, we may be happier, but we're not in control of the factors that make interest rates go to 25%. So if interest rates were doubled, your repayment is doubled, what happens? Yeah? No one has guaranteed you 14% forever. It takes your job not to be needed. Business cycles change. The business that you're working in changes. So it takes a role not to be needed anymore. It takes a relationship to change. It takes an illness to extend. It takes inflation to move from 8% to 20%. It takes the lender. But then the lender can want their money back. They can recall their money. They are allowed. If you read the terms and conditions of your loan properly, they can recall. Today you can be told pay off your mortgage now. Yeah? So it just takes that. So we've got to stop thinking life can just go on forever as is, because in our lifetimes, do you think one of these or a multiple of other issues can happen to you? It can. Like Susan, it happened to us. Like me, when I went into business, it happened. So we've got to start thinking, I like my life. My life may be good. I may think I am doing well, but let's be honest, how many moves does it take? And I want this to become so real, and I hope you sat next to somebody you like. Yeah? You're going to tell them how many moves it takes. And be honest. And don't just say it takes one move. I want you to identify the move. It could be your job, it could be a relationship, it could be what? Get in touch with your move. You know, in Centonomy, one thing we do in class is we make you face. Yeah? You only get through something by actually facing it. So I'm giving you 10 seconds. Describe your moves to each other. Okay? Has that hit home now? It's one step. Yeah? So I want all of you to say this with me. On the count, can we relate to you? It's one, and if you're doing well, maybe you have 2 steps, but for many of us, have we realized it's one? And a step that you sometimes you don't have control over. Correct? Like we're saying we don't have control over the business environment. Sometimes you don't have control over what may happen in the company you're working with. It's a lot of things we don't have control over, but we're one step away from it. So on the count of 3, I want you to say something with me. I am one step away from poverty. Okay. Hey, you guys are even ahead of me. I was supposed to count till 3. Then we say it together. But let me count till 3. Then we all say it. And even me, I'm putting myself in this. So I'm giving a talk, but I am sitting there with you observing the talk. Yeah? 1, 2, 3. I am one step away from poverty. I may look good. I may drive the biggest car. I may go to the bar and buy everybody drinks. My kids may go to the right schools. I may be taking comfort in the fact that my parents have it all together and I can live a certain way. I may be thinking I have an inheritance. It does not matter. It's one step away from poverty. So the question for us becomes, are you okay with that? It's simple. Are you okay with that? Are we okay with that? No. And wealth creation is really about, let me take this from 1 step to 2 steps. Swadaka told you he had 6 months of an emergency fund. That is not 1 step away from poverty. He's got now rental properties. He's increasing the steps. Yeah? So your work is to increase the steps. And we can never blame all these external factors. That's not the problem. It's not the economy. It's not the environment. It's not that. It is what did you do when you were in the position to increase those steps? Did you make the moves? It's like running a marathon, and in the start of the marathon, you decide not to run. Can you blame somebody else for winning? You can't. So it's to say, while I have this now, while I have an income, while I'm in this position, while I have a mind that can think, while I have energy, what steps am I going to make towards the wealth creation side? Are we together? So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time we stop doing this. This picture is what you call an illusion. Sorry, it will come up on screen shortly, yeah? But an illusion is thinking, seeing things that are not there and thinking they are okay. So if you look at the picture up there, depending on how you look at this picture, the man is either facing sideways or is facing forward. And that is why it's called an illusion. It really depends on how you see things. And with money, we do have an illusion. Sometimes we want to look at money as is, but sometimes what we want to do, shingo pande. Sindio? I remember I used to go to the ATM, withdraw money. Then I said, the ATM asks you, do you want a receipt? What do I say? No, that is shingo pande. Shingo pande is, I'm paying off my debt. But if I ask you, how much exactly do you owe the bank? Do you know? No. You made the minimum payment on the credit card. Shingo pande is, these investments are too hard for me to understand. That is shingo pande. You are not taking responsibility. And what we actually have to do is this, like the lady is doing. Let us face facts as they are. And that's why I was telling you, look at the fact that you're one step away from poverty. Now, especially in our society, we get distracted. We get so distracted by looking like we're doing well. We're so distracted by it. Watching other people who are doing well. And the irony is, we spend more money trying to look like we're doing well than actually doing well. Correct? So I'll go and take this car on a big car loan because I'm more vested in looking the part rather than being and living the part. So that money can be the one that helps you put a deposit down on an apartment that is giving you rental income, that increases your moves, that one day it even funds that fancy car that you want to buy. Yeah, so we've got to stop being distracted. It's an illusion and we are lying to ourselves. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, people in Kenya, they're suffering, but they don't want to say they're suffering. And they're suffering because I need to show the part. I need to look like I'm doing well. One of the things we do in Centonomy is to remove noise. We want to deal with you. We don't want to deal with everybody else. So it's about who are you? What is important to you? And then let's figure out the plan for making that happen. So we've got to start removing the noise, the social media, the materialism. Those things are not bad. If you want them, that's fine. But make sure it is you who wants them. But don't go buy them because you think other people will think better of you because you have them, because you are destroying yourselves and digging yourselves deeper into poverty. Some of those moves we make, we are not even that one step from poverty. Now we are becoming half a step into poverty because of that. So let's not live in an illusion. And because of that, because of what we've just said, we are one move away. Investing is not a choice. It is not a choice. We treat investment like a choice. What do we say? We don't know. Can you go turn up at work and say you don't know how to do your job? Do you have a choice in the matter? If you don't know something at work, what do? You figure it out. But we treat investment like a choice. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I'll do it when I have extra. Investing is not the stuff you do when you have extra. I was having a conversation with my husband a couple of days ago. And he said, if you're never putting yourself under strain, you're not going to get very far. You cannot do investment in comfort. And it's the same way. You get up in the morning. I don't see anybody naked here. The reason I use that cartoon. Did you think it's a choice to wear clothes? Nobody decided, I'm going for the Centonomy Open day. I just don't have the time to wear clothes. I just don't feel like doing it. I'll wear clothes when I have extra. When my 73, the speaker said I have my 73 pair of shoes has become 74. That's when I'll wear clothes. And it's the same because you don't want to come here naked and exposed, correct? But when we don't invest, that is exactly what you're doing. You're living this life, but you are naked and you are exposed to that one situation happening. Investing is not a choice, and it's not something you do when you are comfortable. This must have been 7 years ago. Yeah. My husband and I decided to do a development. We had never done a development, ever. Yeah. But again, even then, we were thinking real estate is a thing to do, etc. We bought a small piece of land through savings and through having invested in the stock market slowly over time. We bought that land in Kitengela. We did the same thing. It was that phase of buying land in Kitengela. Even as we bought our 1/8 acre of a plot of land there. Now, we did a development. Apart from buying the land, we had no other money. Yeah. So, we came up with a concept. We got an architect to draw the apartments, how they will look. There were about 20 apartments. The architect became an investor, so he got an apartment. Yeah. The lawyer also got an apartment, as in they're paying for the apartment, and part of the payment was also through some of the services that they were giving. And we started selling the apartments. The money and we went around almost doing roadshows with the people we know, networks, etc. We don't have money to put up the apartments, yeah? But we put them up. We put about 21 apartments, selling them off plan, because now we had the drawings, the approvals, and everything ready. And people bought into the apartments, and we gave them a payment plan, and that is the money we used to build the apartments. Of course, we made a lot of mistakes in the process that we learned, but it taught me that this thing of waiting and thinking it is only the lucky people who have certain amounts of money that do this thing, I learned it's not that. It is about putting yourself in an environment where you can think of doing that. So what did we get out of it? We got 2 apartments out of it. And those 2 apartments now every month give us about 30,000 shillings in rent. So I know, even though something happened to me, I can still buy food with the rent money. Do you understand? And those are the options along the way you want to create for yourself. And it's not waiting. So we did not have the money, but we used our networks, got people to buy in, and we put up a building. Of course, it also taught me that I never want to develop again. But the principle is, I pushed myself. And you can push yourself. Do things that are uncomfortable. Don't come for Centonomy when you're comfortable. Don't wait to come when you're comfortable. Don't wait to save, invest when you're comfortable. Start saying, and if you're not uncomfortable, make yourself uncomfortable. Do things that strain you. And to be a fearless investor, I guarantee you must be doing something every year that you did not think you can do. Don't limit yourself to what you think you can do. Nobody achieved anything by doing what they think you can do. What you think you can do is what you should already be doing. Okay? Are we in agreement? Now, the fearlessness and what takes you to the next level is doing those things you can not do, and it is not luck. There's a common saying, opportunity will come knocking. Or, so-and-so, opportunity really knocked at their door. There's nothing like that. Opportunity does not come knocking. I'm sorry to burst the bubble. This is how opportunity comes. You seek and you find. You look for it. You prepare for it. Because it is only by preparing for opportunity that you will actually be able to see opportunity. I like telling people you have to get onto the bus. Yeah? Opportunities are not hanging around waiting for, I wonder where Waceke is today. Let's go knock. Yeah, they're not. So just like this common saying, if the mountain won't go to Muhammad, Muhammad must go to the mountain. You have got to go to the mountain. You've got to start looking. You've got to start reading. You've got to start being plugged into where these opportunities are. You've got to start opening your eyes. You've got to start changing your conversations. You've got to start saying, this year I'm going to do something that I don't think I will do. And that is how opportunities come. Yeah. It's one step at a time, but once you start, you almost refine a muscle that is able to capitalize and see and deal with the opportunities. Are we together? Am I making sense? Yeah? So, go to the mountain. The mountain will not come to you. Yeah. So, there are 5 stories we tell ourselves with investments that I want to demystify. One is that it requires a lot of money. Okay, we think that, don't we? Yeah. So, we look at, let me take 170 shillings a day. That 170 shillings a day is 5,000 shillings a month. That 5,000 shillings a month is 60,000 shillings a year. If you put together 10 people who have that 170 bob a day, you get 600,000 shillings per year. In 5 years, that will be 3 million shillings. So 170 shillings a day becomes 3 million shillings. Do you have the money? You have the money. So let us not cheat ourselves. We don't have the money. You have the money. So it's not about a lot of money. It's already there. We're spending it. It's going through your hands every day. Now, the same 5,000 shillings, and about 5, and I'll show you a graph later. About in 2012, early 2012, if you had put this in Safaricom shares, the value of the 5,000 investment in Safaricom would be 67,500 shillings. Can you see what your 5,000 has done? 5,000 in Safaricom shares at 2 bob, 67,500 shillings. Now, at that time, people were nervous about the market, so they did not invest. Safaricom share went to something like 2 shillings something. Yeah. So we did not invest because we thought it's a risky period. Everybody is not doing it. And the problem is we tend to follow the crowd. When the markets are doing well, that's when people want to invest, yeah? But the 5,000 became 67,500. If you had put 50,000 shillings, it would have been 675,000 shillings. I picked another of the banking shares. 50,000 shillings invested in KCB at that time is 141,000 shillings now. Your money is starting to grow and work for you that way. 5 years ago, Bithi, who teaches our property class, sold his car for 600,000 shillings. He sold his depreciating asset, bought a plot in Mavoko for 600,000 shillings. He is now selling it for 3.8 million shillings. If you had even just said, I want to play it safe, let me do a bond. There was a bond that was issued about 2 years ago, 14%. Your 50,000 shillings would have earned 7,000 shillings a year, which would have still been 35,000 shillings. Your 50,000 even. So there are options. And I think that was because they don't leave your money in a bank account. Look for where it can do something for you. And these are not large sums of money we're talking about. But money can work. So let's not give ourselves excuses. The second thing we do, we say it will take up too much time. I don't have the time. The number of times we hear, I don't have the time to come to class. Yeah. What are we doing with our time? If we don't have time to learn about investments or to look for investments. We are hanging out with people. We're having the conversations about being broke, right? And I call those conversations the poverty support group mentality. Let's all support ourselves in being poor. Yeah? Let's talk about how broke we are, the economy, the government, and all those things, my employer, etc. Poverty. We're on Twitter. Yeah? Just being useless on Twitter, just saying rubbish on Twitter. We're on Facebook, we're watching TV. And I'm not saying never do these things. Yeah? I am a self-confessed Game of Thrones fan, so I'm not telling you don't watch. Yeah? But it can't be your entire free time is spent on these things. Because even you will find we spend 10 hours a week, 12 hours a week on things that don't make sense. What if you invested that time? Part of becoming a fearless investor, the most important thing you will do is how you use your time. You and Manu Chandaria you both have 24 hours. Yeah, and I have a feeling that when we meet God, God will tell us, I gave you equal resources. You know why? He said, I gave you all 24 hours. It's not about the money. What did you do? So I picked up this quote. Time is free. We've been given. We never had to pay for time. But when you waste time, it is the bank account. It's like making a deposit in your bank account. Let's say we have 100,000 shillings in our bank account, but you have to spend it. You have to spend it. What would you spend it on? You can spend it on rubbish that will not mean anything to you. Let's say you have to spend it. Or you can spend it on those things that are meaningful to you, that you will remember, that you will make memories of, that you impacted someone's life. Yeah? So it is priceless because we can never buy it back. You can never bargain with God for an extra second. Yeah? You can't own it. It's not ours. Nobody here knows when their time will be up, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it, and once you've lost it, you never get it back. The most important thing is time. When that person was telling me you are so lucky, what they are not understanding is the amount of time it has taken and continues to take to do anything meaningful. Yeah? So it's about where am I going to spend my time? Number 3, it's complicated. And I want to spend a bit of time here. We think it's hard. Yeah? Don't we see graphs like this and just shut off? Do you know what this graph is saying? Exactly what I told you in the first slide. You know when I said 5,000 bob in Safaricom is now 67,500 shillings? This is what the graph is saying. So what we have to do, we have to learn. We can no longer hide behind the fact that it is complicated. Yeah. And we hide, we're like, I don't understand. But if you looked at this graph every day, what would happen? Do you think you start to understand what it is saying? As long as you are mentally able, you can do 1 + 1. You can read and write. You really have no excuse. And the problem of thinking it's complicated, we then look for the easy things to do. The easy things are to leave your money in a savings account. The easy things are to listen to your friend because she was the first one to invest in a pyramid scheme, and her 10,000 became 400,000. You're coming in the 3rd year, you invest even your million only for just to read in the paper. It's gone. Yeah? So when we think these other things are complicated and hard, we go look for the easy way out. Yeah? It is easier to just go to work every day, just do your minimum expectations and leave at the end of the day. It is harder to throw yourself in your role or your job and make a difference in the organization and get promoted. It is harder to do that. So we've got to stop thinking it is complicated. You have the ability to learn anything you put your mind to. Investments are not complicated. They're just like anything else in your lives. They require you to put the time to learn them. If you want to learn the stock market, learn it. If you want to learn property, learn it. If you want to learn how to run a business, learn it. The investments and the language that they are phrased in, we cannot wait for it to be simplified to our level. We have to rise up to the occasion. Are we together? Let us rise up to the occasion. I think Waceke talked about this, yeah? I'm scared of the risk. I have learned this. If you're not willing to risk 10,000 shillings, you're not ready to make 10,000 shillings. The billionaires are billionaires because they have risked billions. If you're not willing to risk 50,000 shillings, you're not ready to make 50,000 shillings. So risk is there, but as we're talking about calculated risk, But I think we use risks to cover up something deeper. I don't want to take the risk. What are we really saying? I am scared. We're talking about fear. And another thing is fear also does not go away by doing nothing. So courage is not the absence of fear, it is actually in spite of the fear doing it anyway. If you are not scared, actually there is something wrong. Me, I'm scared all the time. I was scared today, I'm scared tomorrow, on Monday I'll be scared. I become so used to being scared, Paka, it's like, you're here again, let's move. So what happens is mastery of fear. It's about changing your relationship with fear. So the first time, you'll be scared, but if you choose to go through it, when fear shows up again, you're developing a muscle that deals with fear. And there's nothing else that kills dreams than fear. So fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. Fear is what is making you not make money. It is not failure. Failure is the teacher, and you will fail. Even some of those shares, at the same time, there are some shares that have dipped. But you will learn a lesson, and failure always teaches you to learn a lesson. So don't be scared of failing. Understand that this journey is paved with so many things. And failure is one of it. You will fail at something. Have you ever failed at something? What we have to change is the narrative. Just because you failed doesn't mean you can't do it. I have been conned many years ago. Me and my husband, we thought we were buying our dream property to build our dream house. How did we find it was a big fat lie and a big fat con? We lost 1 million shillings. It was a big fat lie. And the art of conning, they had perfected it. Now at least there's some systems that have been put in place, but we lost money. But you keep going on. It doesn't mean you don't look. You keep going on. You're like, now I have learned. We even see the loopholes that we didn't quite do. We saw this nice old man. You're told respect your elders. He talked such a good story. He told us how that land has been his family. He took us, imagine the guy was a con. And he's like a nice old man. You even give him tea. And you buy the story. Now I know. Doesn't matter how nice and gentle the people look. Let me just do checks and balances. He asks you for a deposit before paperwork is done. You're like, oh yeah. He's giving us such a good price. So you will fail, but failure is okay. And I think we've got to stop. I think we've been in a society where we've believed failure is not okay. There's something wrong with failing. There's nothing wrong with you because you failed. And if you feel you've not failed, there's nothing special with you either. It's just coming. It's on its way. And apart from that, I think one of the biggest things that can help us deal with fear is, so apart from, I know I started with 1 step to poverty and I scared you a bit. And I want you to be cognizant of that because it is real and it is happening to people every day. I want you to understand what's in it for you, that you decide, I'm not going to let what I want become a victim of interest rates, a victim of my job may go, a victim of those 1 steps that we were talking about. So we've got to get to the point where what you want is so important to you that you are now willing to do what it takes. Do you have things that you know you want to do? Do you have things you know you want to do? So, are they important enough to you? Then fear you'll be able to deal with. Other people's expectations you'll be able to deal with. So it's important to define that. Lastly, sometimes we don't see how small things add up. This same 170 shillings, if you invested it at 10%, 10 years, it adds up to just under 1 million shillings, just 170 shillings a day. And what you're using is one of the principles we teach people in class called time value of money, compounding. Understanding that money reinvested and reinvested and reinvested literally adds up. So that same coffee that you're spending 170 bob a day can be a happy holiday. It can end up being 100,000 shillings a year. The small amounts of money adds up. Making wealth is not hard. Yeah. In the sense of, it's not about the money. What is hard is are you intentional about it? Are you disciplined? Are you purposeful about it? Are you purposeful about it enough? Last one, thinking what you know is enough. What you know is never enough. What I know is not enough. I still need to know so much more to build a business, to invest, to create wealth. And you've got to be plugged in. You've got to be in the networks of information. We are not in a country where the opportunities are on Google. Hi, Google, land opportunities in Juja. And then it comes up and then you're like a millionaire overnight because you saw it on the internet. No, we are not. Opportunities are around discussion. Are you plugged in to where this discussion is happening? Like the discussion today, you're getting plugged in. Yeah? Are you plugged in? Or are you plugged in to what Biko was saying, to the cheap advice that ends up being very expensive? Your friend tells you quail eggs is the thing. Remember quail eggs? Quail eggs is the thing to do. So cheap advice but you never actually go to a proper quail egg farmer to understand what it takes to farm quail eggs. Yeah? So cheap advice is expensive. What you know is not enough. And also understand your own advice may be the cheap advice. You know the stuff you're telling yourself. You're also telling yourself, I can't do it. I think we'll do it this way. I don't need that. I'll do it another day. That is very cheap advice as well. So get plugged in and start saying, what am I learning this season? If you're constantly not learning, you're not moving forward. And if you're not moving forward, whether you never remain static, there's no, I'm staying in the same spot. You're either moving forward or moving backwards. The same way you're growing older. You can't avoid it. Every day you're growing older. So we're always moving in a certain direction. The question is, which direction are you moving in? So if you don't feel that you're moving forward, imagine you're moving backwards. Yeah, and just to give you what he said, yeah, sorry, yeah. What you're buying for 10,000 shillings, if that 10,000 shillings, you say, I want the 10,000 shillings to stay the same. So I put it in my savings account earning close to nothing. The next year, what you are buying with 10,000 shillings, you will need 12,000 shillings to buy. So what did you do? You moved backwards. That's what I'm saying. Investing is not a choice. Let me please emphasize that. It is not, and I mean investing your time, investing, as Millicent put it, investing in your brain and knowledge, and investing your money, investing in your relationships, investing in your ideas, investing in your family. It is not a choice. You don't do it when you are comfortable. You don't do it when you have extra money. You don't do it when you have extra time. You don't do it when all your problems have been resolved. You don't do it when your husband or wife changes their behavior. Yeah? No, those are the excuses we also give ourselves. You do it because just the same way you dress every day, if you don't do it, you will be one, naked and exposed and one step away from poverty. But secondly, and even more importantly, you will not get to live out your fullest potential. And I think that is the saddest thing that can happen to anybody. And because you came here today, I do not want it to happen for you. So, just to illustrate that sometimes we don't know it all, even though we think we know it all. You may not be able to read all the words on screen, but this was an email sent to us by one of our Centonomy alumni a couple of years ago. And I just want to read it out to you because I just want to start to show you the impact of starting to think differently. So I attended Centonomy last year, October. I'll tell you, I came knowing I was coming to get a pat on my back for a job well done. We had just bought our first apartment on mortgage and had lived in it for a month. So one of the many light bulbs moments was the realization that our apartment was not an asset because first it was on mortgage, meaning it was the bank's, and secondly, it was not bringing us any money. So fast forward, my husband, who also attended the class, and I got radical. We needed to desperately increase our income streams, not because we were struggling, but just to put our new knowledge to good use and retire earlier than planned. Our first project was pig farming, but most things were not in our control, and we could not continue to wait indefinitely. Enter income stream number 2, rent the apartment. We had watched the open day clips where the CEO, Peter Nduati, said, of Resolution said, if you don't have a relationship with inanimate objects. This meant in as much as we were in love, and she really emphasizes love, yeah? With our new apartment, we couldn't keep holding on to it. We had to put it to work. Also, the apartment was more of a faucet. We were high just on the looks from our family and friends when they came to see the house. Now, we could either rent it out furnished or unfurnished. If we rented out the apartment furnished, we could get between 100,000 to 120,000, but this would entail letting go of all the furniture and gadgets that we had just poured money into thinking about it. So we advertised the apartment, and we already have guests booked for May, December, and a couple of days, and more guests during the month. So basically, she's saying on full occupancy, we are now getting a minimum of $1,414 a month, which is more than enough to pay the mortgage, rent a smaller apartment where we now live, and provide monthly installments to our daughter's school fees. We were challenged to think outside the box. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. It may not happen the exact way she has said it. Yeah, there's some people who come and say, imagine there's no way, I'm always going to live in my house, and that's okay, but where else are you going to? What do you have that you can use? So for some people, it's they had an asset that they just needed to turn around. You see how she's made her asset work for her? It's providing, it's paying its own mortgage, it's providing income for rent for another apartment, and it's providing daughter's school fees. Have you seen how many steps she has increased in her life? So sometimes you're also just one move away from changing that scenario. Just the way we've realized we're one step away from poverty, I guarantee you are also one move away. One, from completely changing your financial life. One move. We have had people in the class who realized, oh, I can bake. And that was their one move. So we do an assessment with you to also look at your skills and talents and how you can put them to good use. So just like you're one step away from poverty, you're one step away to financial freedom, but it's about being engaged enough to realize it. So I'll end this with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. My version of this is just get onto the bus. I always say, get onto the bus. You don't get to Mombasa by being at the bus stop. Yeah. Today this was good, but we had the bus stop. Yeah, this is the bus stop, yeah? You don't get to Mombasa by being on the bus stop. You get by being on the bus, and as the bus is going, you will see things differently. You may have to detour, but maybe the bus will also pick up speed at some point, but being on the bus is what gets you there. Take the first step. You can't map out the entire journey, take the first step. But Roosevelt puts it like this. Get into the arena. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. There's only one thing you have to decide for yourself. Are you important enough? You. That is the one thing that is needed to become a fearless investor, to create wealth, and to live the life that you want. Are you important enough? And are you committed to showing up for your own life? If you do make that decision, it is the best decision you will ever make. So the objective of Centonomy, just to put it in my own words, is one, to make you understand your unique potential and what you can do with what you have. First and foremost, that's what you do. What can you do? You are unique, you are special, you are great, you are gifted, you are skilled. What can you do? Number 2, believe it. We always say have faith, have faith, have faith, have faith, but also faith is a process. Believing ourselves in a process that we can actually do it. So we have a class that teaches you, how do you believe? What is the vision? And we get to the point where you believe it. So first understand who you are and then believe it, first and foremost. Then thirdly, how to make money. We can't do all this without money. So how do you actually make the money? All the way from the spending to the investment side. And lastly, how does money work for you? How can you continue living the life you want, even when you're not working? Something is producing income. How does that process happen? So for those of you who will sign up, we really look forward to having you. And thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, thank you.